Good day. Today we are going to be looking at the education of the toddler and also how to help toddlers with skill acquisition. Education for a toddler is can be defined as giving the toddler the skills and knowledge that they need to grow up and to become productive members of the family and of course productive members of the society. Educating toddlers, especially at the earlier stages, starts from the home before they get to school. There's a lot of education, a lot of skill training that the father and the mother are supposed to do at home before the child gets to school. Even when they are already in school, pre-KG ages, there's still a lot of educating that is the responsibility of the parents. I made a list of a lot of things, 10 main items that the parents should look at while educating their child, especially at home before they start formal education. The first one on the list is endeavor to answer all their questions as truthfully as possible. Be direct and be truthful and be factual when you're answering their questions. When toddlers ask you questions, do not assume that it's a toddler and they are not intelligent. They're actually very, very intelligent, or sometimes as intelligent as you would want them to be. So when they ask you questions, be factual, be direct, and be truthful. When they ask you difficult questions, do not give them euphemisms as answers. Like, for example, an example of such questions that they ask is grandma died. What is the meaning of death? Why did she die? Where is she going to? Give them truthful answers. Truthful answers. Don't give them euphemisms. Don't tell them grandma heaven needed an angel, and so grandma was taken by God so that she can become an angel. Now, first of all, that is a lie. It is not true whatsoever. I've never heard of any religion where God is known to take people as angels as a means of kill people because he needs angels. So that is not true. And even as a parent, you should avoid telling any semblance of lies to your child. That will be explained in later chapters. It is not true. Where's grandma? She has gone to heaven. You are lying because you don't know if grandma is in heaven. So you should be factual. You should and be direct. If your child asks you, oh, where is grandma? It's an opportunity to explain the concept of death to them. Now they are very intelligent. While you are talking, they might seem as if they are not getting you. But those of us who have toddlers, we know that sometimes, maybe a few days after you've talked, they recite everything you said back to you. And that's how you know they were listening to you. That's how you know they are intelligent. That's how you know they got what you were saying. So don't ever assume that an explanation is too complex for your toddler. If a family member dies and they ask where's the family member, it's an opportunity to explain the concept of death to them. And even if you are going to be telling them the religious aspects of what death is, be factual. Say exactly what your religion entails. Like I said, I've never heard of any religion where it is taught that God kills people because he needs angels. So avoid telling your child things that are not technically not true. Avoid euphemisms. Toddlers don't understand what it means for someone to kick the bucket. That would be useful for a child, maybe in JSS1 who has started literature. But a toddler who asks about a dead family member it's an opportunity to explain to them. So answer questions as often as possible. Don't be too tired. They ask a lot of questions, especially in the later years of toddlerhood. They ask a lot of questions. Be ready to answer. If you can't answer immediately, well, postpone the answer. It's better than cooking up something that is not real to tell them. It indirectly reduces their intelligence when you tell them things that are not true just to brush them off. So try as much as possible to be truthful, to be factual, and to be direct in your answering of questions. If there are difficult questions that cannot be answered immediately, postpone them, but make sure you answer them truthfully. That's the first on the list. The second on the list is try to explain to them how things work. These learning experiences, these educative opportunities have to be initiated by you. Let's say, for instance, you drove your wife, if you are a man, to the market, you are sitting in the car or with your toddler. It's an opportunity to start explaining to them how a car works, what the gear does, what the ignition does, what's the proper name for these things, how cars are driven. They might not ask you, but seize every opportunity to teach them how things work. If you have a phone, whenever you are free with them, make time to teach them how a phone works. Teach them how things around them work even before they ask questions. Don't always wait for the questions. Create time, learning opportunities for them so that you can explain to them how things work even before they ask you the questions. Third on that list is you should read to your children, read to your toddler. Some school libraries have books that can be bought or rented that are storybooks for toddlers. Read storybooks to them. Also tell them stories. Let them know which one is fiction and which one is a real story and why. Always tell them stories. Either you are reading to them or you are telling to them. Although it's better for toddlers to tell them real stories, it's better for them. But you can also tell them fictional stories. Just make sure to explain to them which one is a fiction, which one is a real story, and why they are referred to like that. Tell them stories. Read stories to them. That's the third point on my list here. The fourth point is allow them to play computer games. Puzzle games are very good. Games that involve matching objects are very, very good. A lot of them can be downloaded onto your phone from the internet. The puzzle games are very good for toddlers, and games that also help them to match things. In later years, there are games that are appropriate for different ages, but for the toddler age, games that involve matching and involve solving puzzles should be introduced to them as part of the education that we are discussing of the toddler. The next one by the children is on the list is encourage role play. Children on their own initiate because they like role playing. They dress up a lot, give themselves names, call themselves doctors and engineers, and act out these things. Allow them to do it. It helps to build creativity. It helps them to learn about societal rules. Allow them to role play. Allow them to dress up and maybe carry a handbag and pretend to be mommy. Maybe carry a cutlass and pretend to be a farmer. I once heard a parent cautioning a child because she was role playing and she was hawking. She was hawking a camel, and the mother was very furious and took it as a spiritual thing and started praying. You will never hawk a camel and things like that. That's unnecessary. Their children role playing helps them to build creative minds. Allow them to role play. Play cooking is very good. When we were young, we used to call play cooking a mapaba. We did that a lot. It's very, very good for children. They gather empty cans, empty containers. They put mud and grass in it and pretend to be cooking soup or different things like that. It helps them to be very creative. It helps to build their creativity, helps them to learn about things too. When I was young, we did a lot of mapaba up to the extent that my parents allowed us to have little quantities of food, little quantities of beans and rice that we actually cooked until they were edible. And we were able to eat some of these things from those cans. It's very good. In later years, it helped me to learn cooking. I became very good at cooking. I eventually went to catering school and opened a restaurant at a point. So it helps a lot. This role playing is very good for them. Allow them to do it, no matter what they call themselves. Allow it is the role playing. It helps them to gain knowledge a lot. Next on that list is help them to learn proper use of language. Proper use of language. Vulgar words are not things that children should be allowed to use. Expletives, um, wrong names, slangs, wrong names for private parts. And the private parts have names in the dictionary that children are allowed to use, but any colloquial language, expletives, vulgar words should not be allowed in children. Teach them how to use language properly. Now, teaching your child how to use language properly means that you, as a parent, also have to learn how to use language properly. If you're a parent that you are using vulgar words, naturally your children learn a lot by copying. They will copy you. So you have to refine your own language in order to be able to teach your child how to speak properly. Also try to avoid colloquial words. But this does not mean that children should not be allowed to learn how to speak their native language. No, that's allowed. They should be taught their native language. They should be taught pidgin. Pidgin is also part of their native language. They should be allowed. Colloquial language does not involve that. They should be allowed as long as you don't teach a toddler too many languages at the same time, especially those who are learning to talk. It will slow down their speech. And so try and teach them one language at a time. But pidgin is allowed, and their local dialect is allowed, but not colloquial words, no vulgar words, no expletives. Parents should be very, very careful what the kind of language they use in the presence of their children. It's part of the education that you are educating them. We are still talking about educating the toddler and skill acquisition. The next on the list is organizing, teaching the children how to organize. Make sure you teach your child how to organize. A toddler should know that where clothes are kept is not the same place shoes are kept. That books, school books, are supposed to be in the school bag, and that pens and pencils and erasers and sharpeners are supposed to be in a special case. Spoons and forks are kept differently from place. Just teach them how to organize. Teach them where certain things go and where other things don't go. It's part of the education you are supposed to be giving them at home, before and during their own pre-KG or KG education. The next on the list is teach your children songs. Sing to them is part of their education. Sing to them, especially songs that rhyme, songs that talk about the alphabets and the numbers, educative songs. Teach them. A lot of these songs can be downloaded from the internet. Educative songs. Teach them. You can also teach them on your own. Help them to learn how to sing. Singing helps a lot. Help children a lot to learn. Next on the list is make the learning experiences as playful and as enjoyable as possible. One of the reasons why children will not learn is if it leads to pain a lot. Not all the time you have to beat a child when they are learning, especially when they are doing homework, they can get distracted. Punishment is not out of place, but do your best to make every learning experience as funful as possible. Children gravitate, they are pulled towards what they like, what is enjoyable to them. So try and make learning experiences enjoyable, smile a lot, commend them a lot when they say something right, commend them a lot, clap for them. It encourages them to learn more. That's the education aspect of the children, of the toddlers, by the parents. How about skill acquisition? Skill acquisition is you allow a child anything that helps them to develop their skills. I made a list of some skills that children should be involved in: drumming, dancing, role playing, like we said, fashion, sports, supervised cooking. When you see them doing things like this, encourage them. When you see them dressing up, sometimes they may be dressed in your clothes, your clean clothes that maybe you kept for work. They bring them down and they dress up in them. Allow them. They are probably there may be training for something greater tomorrow. Allow them to develop skills. If you see your child drumming, encourage them. They are going to be noisy when they are drumming and playing instruments, but encourage them. You can correct them, tell them to keep the noise down, but encourage them. As regards skill acquisition, it is probably going to involve your finances. So a parent should be prepared long before they have a toddler to finance this skill acquisition. A child who loves drumming, at some point you are going to buy a drum set. It's expensive, but if you are into building skills, you may need to buy. A child who likes soccer will need a ball at some point. Child who likes sports might need to be enrolled in a sports center at some point. So you will have to finance all these things. Lastly, excuse me, make sure you make all these experiences very pleasurable for your toddler. We are going to stop here. In subsequent videos, we'll be teaching more about the other issues. Thank you.